Xiaomi has been struggling to upgrade Mi A2 Lite users to Android 10, and at this stage, the upgrade is looking highly doubtful. But for those who've managed to upgrade, you might have noticed that the camera now has a new icon. But is it just the icon, or the camera app itself has also been updated? Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, please consider subscribing, and if you do eventually end up liking the video, please hit that like button. Now, the Mi A2 Lite camera app in Android 9 was okay for the most part, definitely not something to write home about. As a matter of fact, I had altogether replaced it with the Open Camera app. Now with Android 10, the phone comes with a refreshed app, and yes, it's not just the icon. You can see changes on the interface, you can change exposure and capture pictures directly on the display. The settings menu also has some subtle differences and a few quirks, but the big question is, does that all translate into good images and video? Granted, there's the occasional camera crash I've been experiencing. The phone is still quite buggy, but nonetheless, let's start with the photos. If there's enough light, just by taking the phone out and snapping a photo with the automatic settings, you can be rest assured you're going to get a great looking image. The camera is noticeably faster as well. You can now literally get the camera out of your pocket and snap a photo. Previously, I would experience some sort of delay as the camera hunted for focus. Though there's a tendency by the app to overexpose images in certain scenarios, but overall, the images look very sharp, actually sharper than on Android 9, but in most cases, they're probably leaning towards cooler tones. The rear camera features a 12-megapixel sensor with an aperture of f2.2 plus a 5-megapixel sensor whose sole job is to provide scene depth information. And talking about the depth information, the portrait mode does an okay job of separating subjects from the background. That is if you're taking photos of humans. On objects like flowers, you might see some fringing, and I guess it's probably expected since the phone doesn't have a dedicated micro camera like more recent phones. Otherwise, the same camera modes were carried over from Android 9, including the manual camera mode that lets you set the white balance and ISO. But even with these, don't expect to capture groundbreaking images. For the most part, photos from the Mi A2 Lite are good, maybe for social media use. Perhaps that's why the phone also packs a lot of Instagram-inspired filters. Now, let's talk about where the camera fails, dismally for that matter, in low light. Its low light capabilities haven't improved since Android 9. The images remain noisy, highlights are blown out, even in scenarios where other camera apps take negligible photos. The Mi A2 Lite camera app in Android 10 capitulates. The front-facing camera, on the other hand, is a 5-megapixel shooter which takes good photos, not great, in ideal lighting conditions. And once again, in dark scenarios, the camera fails dismally. Now, let's talk about video. The phone captures full HD videos at 60 frames per second, an upgrade from the 30 frames per second video on Android 9. And once again, in good lighting conditions, the video quality is beautiful. So this is what the video footage looks like at 30 frames per second, and this is the audio from the camera. What I don't like, on the other hand, is the poor autofocus. The camera hunts a lot, and even with the slightest of movements by your subject, the camera still hunts. In dark scenarios, you pretty much get the same as photos. Most videos I've captured in low light conditions are unusable and very noisy. You have also the ability to shoot time-lapse videos and slow motion videos. Overall, there's been an improvement in the Mi A2 Lite camera app in Android 10. It remains a bit buggy for the most part, but nothing that a software update cannot be able to fix. Now, the Snapdragon 625 SoC can potentially shoot 4K. I was expecting that the upgrade would come with 4K, but I guess that will be pushing it for a 2-year-old phone. But I'm happy with 60 frames per second video in 1080p. So, to conclude, the Mi A2 Lite camera app in Android 10 has actually brought in subtle improvements. For me, the highlight probably is the 60 frame per second video and sharper, better, well-exposed images in relation to the previous version. Yeah, that's been it. Have you been using this phone? Let me know your experience also in the comment section below. Otherwise, see you in the next video.